Bishop Goddy Uwazurike joins us now. He's the delegate at the National Conference to shed some light on these matters. Morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, having listened to that report, when is the conference reconvening now to ratify their positions?
Well, I'm going to reconvene on the 11th of August. Initially, we were scheduled to be resuming on the 4th of August. But they said, they just sent us mails that, look, because of the 2 days public holidays, that they lost time. So they really don't want us to come there and hang around. That they want things to be in order. We said, fine, we'll wait. We're all Nigerians.
Well, from that report, you must have seen the comments or views of some of those respondents as well as Nigerians that have been talking. Good thing, your delegate, some have termed that whole discourse as a failure. Let's start from there and look at some of the issues that have made them target as a failed effort.
Well, there is one expression. Let me leave the word. Latin expression is totum in quod sententia. In English, it means as many men, so many opinions. In other words, opinion is free. You are free to say anything. Besides, we're in a democracy where somebody will get up and say, president is a failure, president is a success, president is this, governor is this. In the same way, they also say the same thing about the national confab.
Do you agree with that?
How can I agree with such nonsense? Let me put it bluntly. In the months we have worked, you have to wake up before 6 to prepare, get all the things ready. You're seated by 9 or 10, whichever time the conference is starting. You close at 6 p.m., then you go for other meetings. You prepare for the next day. It's like work. So for somebody who totally ignored the conference at the beginning, or who wanted the conference to fail, or who was involved in disinformation to come up and say the conference is a failure, I think that person must be living in the moon. We have taken steps. We made painstaking efforts, line by line, to discuss national issues, whether it's the executive, whether it's the judicial, whether it's legislative. We took pains. And by the time the report comes out, then you see people going the extra mile to recommend things that should be done. And somebody who calls the failure, somebody has never read the report.
Some of them are delegates, actually.
No, I don't think they are regular delegates. They are visiting delegates.
Regular delegates.
They are visiting delegates. Anybody who has been there, who says a failure, is a visiting delegate. Because even those who oppose the conference are also there. Some of them are delegates, and they attend, and they argue. And if you take part in the debates, then you cannot call it a failure.
What about those who were delegates and still say, look, if we don't have a brand new constitution, that's their word now, that there were no points for the elections?
That is also their own view. Remember this. I have my view, you have your view. At the conference, it is for you to get up and convince the majority that you are on the right track. One of the things, as a lawyer, I know that you just don't get up and say this must be done this way. This country exists because there's a document called Constitution that says this is how we do things. And if you want to go beyond that or outside that Constitution, what you're doing is called a revolution. We know some of those things. I know that many lawyers are revolutionaries. Castro has been one, among others. Now, if you really want to make a difference, you look at in what way can we do it. This is what many of us did at the conference, starting with the committee where I served, the judiciary. We know that the differences we have made is actually in the way the judiciary operates. We were with the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Those in finance, in public finance, and so on, they called the then acting CBN governor. She was there with her team. They also brought all kinds of finance executives, and we know what they told us.
So you didn't decide in isolation of this. You
No.
brought them in. You met with them.
We were not existing on air. We were familiar. Let me even tell you one here, which, if it's a public domain, no problems. This one says The reason why there is pressure on Naira and the reason why there is high interest rate is because you have this federal allocation once a month. And they made sense because all of them agreed and that they need time to go and work on it, but it has to be a recommendation from the conference. In other words, if you, the minister, the commissioners, you meet only once a month to share money, and the state governors distribute the money immediately, the minister sends out the money. By the middle of the month, there is no money for the governments to work.
But the governments get their own allocation as well.
They would have freestyled it or dealt with it anyhow.
So that's part
So
of it.
the second half, there is pressure, there is no money. You're waiting for the next allocation.
So is it about the distribution or the management of the resources?
The management, yes, but they made a suggestion. This committee made a suggestion. And I will tell you what it is. They said they should meet weekly. Because
Why?
the first 2 weeks, there is money to spend. Second 2 weeks, there is no money. That they end up going to the banks to borrow money for 2 weeks at high interest rates.
And the banks give?
And the banks give. And then, of course, everybody is spending. See, they now made very useful suggestions that when the arguments come up, you could see their reasoning.
No, but that's kind of strange because if they keep going to the banks in 2 weeks to collect funds, I don't know what terms.
That
how
is
do they
what
pay
happens
back?
now.
Because, I mean, you have a lot of individuals in the private sector, even farmers, who are seeking to access credit, and they can't.
They cannot. In other words, the money in the hands of government is actually money borrowed. And the banks are happier to lend to the government because within 2 weeks they will get. So what happens to the manufacturer who needs money for 3 years, for 4 years? He cannot get. It's only in this kind of conference that you can have this kind of thing coming out.
Yeah, but did the CBN say what they're doing to address that?
It's a policy matter, which we have now recommended. Why don't you do it this way? Remember that in the Confab, we have the former Accountant General of Federation. He's there. You have bank chiefs, they're all there. You have former finance ministers, they are all there. In other words, we are judging their work from outside and inside. And such a recommendation is from a mind that has gone through all those things. What we have done, the National Assembly cannot do.
Why
They are
is it?
bound by too many rules,
Or will not.
Or have
Oh, no,
not?
they cannot do.
They cannot or have
do.
not?
No, they can't. Because they are bound by too many rules of procedure. Order public order, this order, that order. But ours is free talk, free opinions.
But
You
that
get up.
freedom couldn't help you achieve anything with regards to derivation.
Good. Let me tell you what happened with that derivation. We fell into a trap.
A trap?
Yes. Some people came forward and said, instead of us standing up there to argue and debate, and why don't we have this small group that will negotiate and see how we can reach agreement? That was a trap. And we said, fine, let there be no acrimony. They came back. The man who was reading what was supposed to be the recommendation, from what we had, read what was not the recommendation. That thing shocked many people, including those who took the recommendation was simple. That 18% derivation, 5% will come from the federation account for the maintenance of the areas damaged by terrorism and so on, beginning with Northeast. It's a national fund. But man went there and said, beginning with Northeast, Northwest, North Central,
Yeah, so if the...
and the rest of the country. And then some of them said, no, we don't even want the rest of the country. It's only for us. So how can I, a delegate representing the Southeast, come there and agree?
Yeah, but if he read what was not agreed by the delegates, was it too late for it to be undone? I mean, was that a seal of
Yeah,
approval? Reading it?
I think that was mischief in the first place. I really don't know what happened because I respect the gentleman a lot. But the moment we got to know, we said, please, you have to go and change it too. The next day, the man drank and they said he was sick. We said, fine. An enlarged committee took over, which was still under trap. So by the time we all came back to sit down, the tension was already high. We took all the decisions on the floor. No decision was taken outside. Anything to be done must be done on the floor. So when the 50 wise men came back and so on and said, okay, since we couldn't even advance any further, let us go by the report of the committee. The committee actually recommended status quo should be maintained.
What was status quo there?
That's the constitutional provision of at least 13%, not less than 13%, should be maintained. That's the committee report. So it's only an attempt to increase it that we're debating.
Till date, there's no
No.
agreement
Till
on
date, the only decision is the committee report was adopted. That Mr. President has the right to give them not less than 13%. Not less than 13%. But before he does that, he should take some technical issues into account. One of them is environmental degradation.
Yeah, but isn't it currently at 13%?
At least 13%, not less than 13%.
That should be the least.
In other words, it can be 14%.
And he could maintain
It could be
13%.
15%. He could maintain it at that.